AVC, how's it going? Another mixed bag for you. So this is what I'm listening to. This is Make It Fast, Make It Slow by Rob. As you can see by the nice sticker on the front, to get rid of the glare, this is horn-driven 1970s Ghanaian funk. Yeah, this came out 2012 on Soundway Records, reissue obviously from late 70s. I like the fact that his name is just Rob, you know, just one word like Madonna or Prince, Rob. It's like, I remember for years, the tune Double Barrel or Monkey Spanner by Dave and Ansel Collins. I always thought they were brothers, you know, Dave and Ansel Collins, you know, but no, it's just like Ansel Collins and his mate Dave. So same sort of thing, Dave or Rob, one word, love it. Right, okay. We had a record fair literally within walking distance from my house a couple of weeks ago. I only picked up one record, and this is what I got. This is African Head Charge, My Life in a Hole in the Ground. This came out in '81 on New Sound. It's produced by Adrian Sherwood. Anything produced by Adrian Sherwood is worth checking out. This band, I think they put out a handful of albums really, but certainly the first 2 or 3 records are certainly worth checking out. This is the first, I say, from '81. It's described as psychedelic dub, which how can you not want to listen to that? So yeah, lovely. Right, okay. Right, this is the new Ryan Adams album. This came out a couple of weeks ago, Prisoner. Actually, on the VC page, on the Facebook page, I've seen a different sleeve for this album. I think it was a Barnes & Noble limited thing, which is based, I think it's got a rotten apple on the front. It's quite a distinctive image. Yeah, but this is the standard sleeve, albeit this is the indie store only red vinyl edition. Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about Ryan Adams. You know, I absolutely loved his first couple of albums, Heartbreaker and Gold. I saw him on both of those tours, and particularly the gig that I saw for Heartbreaker was in Birmingham at the old Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club. Probably 200 or 300 people there tops. It's a seated gig. Just him and the guitar for the night. He was so charismatic. He had the audience sitting out the palm of his hand. You know, witty, great songs. Yeah, to this day, one of the best gigs that I've seen. And then fast forward a few years on the rock and roll tour, which I think was 2002, 2003, the worst gig I've ever been to. Saw him in Manchester. Yeah, he was a complete and utter twat for the whole night. You know, I think too many drugs for our Ryan that night. But yeah, over the years I've picked up some of his other stuff, well, all of his other records, and there's always interesting stuff in there, you know. But the last album was certainly a return to form. That's a self-titled album from, I'd say, 2 years ago, and this has continued that sort of vein as well. It's got a bit of an 80s feel to it. The production and the songwriting is a little bit Tom Petty-esque, which is good. You know, I like Tom Petty. But yeah, you know, I've played this a couple of times. I'll certainly have to give it a couple more listens. But yeah, from what I've heard so far, very good. Okay, really pleased to pick this up a few weeks ago. This is Everything But the Girl Walking Wounded. This came out in '96, so just over 20 years old now. I've had the CD for years. It's a great album. Basically, prior to this, they were a very tasteful sort of dinner party singer-songwriter type thing going on. Not there's anything wrong with that, you know. I like those albums as well. But in the mid-90s, Todd Terry remixed their tune "Missing," which was on the previous album to this, Amplified Heart, and it was just a massive dance tune in the mid-90s. It was played everywhere, and they sort of learnt from that and changed their style, adapted, and put out this great pop album. You know, it's an interesting pop album. Still sounds great now. Original UK press, I say, in totally mint condition. Chuffed with that, you know. So, but yeah, if you haven't heard this record, certainly worth checking out. I should imagine a lot of people in the VC know this one. Right, okay. I mentioned in my last video that I'd been down to Cambridge with work, so while I was there I checked out some a record store. I showed a couple of records in the last video that I picked up. This was the other one. This is The Roots, How I Got Over, original UK press. This came out 2010. I don't know why I didn't pick this up at the time. I absolutely loved that they put out another album in 2010 called Wake Up. I absolutely loved that record. It was an album that they put out with John Legend. sort of civil rights themed cover versions. So it had stuff like Hard Times by Baby Huey, or Can't Write Left Handed by Bill Withers, that sort of stuff. Actually, that version of that song is really worth checking out. It's got this sort of maggot brain guitar type thing throughout the thing, you know. So yeah, definitely worth listening to. But yeah, this is a really nice album. I've got several of their records, and just having heard this a couple of times, you know, this is right up there with their best, you know. So yeah, worth checking out. Okay, this is just a cheapie. Picked this up from the charity shop a couple of weeks ago. Steve Arrington's Hall of Fame, Volume 1. This came out in '83. Steve Arrington, of course, he had a really big hit in the UK in '85 with Feel So Real. I showed the album that came off from, I think, my 1985 Give Me 10 video, Dancing the Key of Life. Yeah, this came out in '83. This is it's very much that of its time, that sound, that soul funk sound from the early '80s. But yeah, a really nice record. Glad I picked it up. It was only £1. Prior to this, he'd been in Slave. He was the drummer in Slave, actually, but I know I think he provided vocals on their two big hits, Watching You and Just a Touch of Love. But yeah, if you see this, worth picking out. I say it's cheap, but yeah, nice record. Right, I showed in my last video Paul Weller's Wildwood reissue. Now the next two have come out. First up, Stanley Road. This came out in '95. Obviously, this was right in the thick of Britpop. You know, at that point, he was being cited by a lot of the Britpop bands as an inspiration. You know, certainly the Jam stuff. Yeah, us Brits, we're a bit funny, really. You know, every so often we like to tell ourselves how great we are. You know, it's a rather unattractive trait of ours, but yeah, this was certainly one of those periods. And looking back now, Britpop, you know, it certainly didn't translate that well anywhere outside of the UK. A lot of it was a right load of old tosh, but there are some great records coming from that period. Stuff like, well, a couple of Blur albums, Part Life, Modern Life is Rubbish, the first Supergrass album, the first Elastica album, His and Hers, A Different Class by Pulp, stuff like that. You know, great records. And I'd put this album alongside those records. This had a few really big tunes on it, stuff like You Do Something To Me, The Changing Man, Broken Stones. You know, just great songwriting. Weller at his best, really. You know, that sort of distinctive Peter Blake design cover. Yeah, and the reissue again is really nicely done. Just too expensive, you know. HMV selling this for £38, far too expensive. I was fortunate I got some sort of pre-order deal on it and got quite a discount on it, which I was pleased with. But yeah, very nice. And the other one following that is Heavy Soul. This came out, I think, in '97. This was very much the arse end of Britpop. When this came out, I remember the review in the NME. I think the review gave it 2 out of 10. And I'm sure I recall correctly that I think after that review, Weller got in touch with the reviewer just to give him a piece of his mind. Which apparently you can do when you Paul Weller, you know. So, but yeah, this is a bit of a mixed bag itself, I suppose. The more standard Paul Weller sounding stuff like Friday Street and Mermaids, which are two of the singles, I think are just a bit dull, really. But some of the more interesting stuff like Golden Sands, Science on this record, I think are far more interesting and have aged a lot better, you know. So. Actually, I bought a book 10-15 years ago now called Lost in the Grooves, and it's very much about, you know, albums which don't necessarily set the world alight, but hidden amongst those albums are some great songs. And I think, you know, you could pretty much put this in that category, you know. So, but yeah, please pick that up. Right, just a couple more. I've said before and I'll say it again, not enough disco in the VC. This is the Whispers debut album on Solar. This is from '79, I think, is it? Yeah, I think so, '79. This has got their big tune, And the Beat Goes On, which is a classic disco record, you know. And the whole album, same sort of vein, only cheap record, but yeah, mint condition. Really pleased to pick that up. And finally, something a bit different, Jackie DeShannon, Put a Little Love in Your Heart. I really like Jackie DeShannon. I put her in the same bracket as the likes of Bobby Gentry, you know, that sort of that sassy sort of '60s, almost soul singer, really, you know, blue-eyed soul. Yeah, this is a nice album. Anything by her I'll pick up. Yeah, it's I remember reading an interview with Jackie DeShannon, and this was going back, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago in the Word magazine, which was a magazine in the UK, and she'd been the interviewer Jude Rogers had gone over to meet with her. She was living in a hotel somewhere in LA, and she just came across so well. You know, I mean, she must have been in her late 60s at that point, and you know, she just seemed to be living the life, and you know, just exactly what you want somebody from this era to be doing. You know, so that's perhaps influenced my taste a little bit. But yeah, the song itself, incidentally, if you haven't heard Marcia Griffiths' version of "Put a Little Love in Your Heart," check it out. Just a lovely reggae pop version. Right, cheers.